Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, class. How are you feeling today? Do you want to learn something new today? Okay, our new lesson for today is all about clause. Clause is a series of words arranged systematically to make meaning. So it could be a sentence or part of a sentence. Did you know that there are two classifications of clause? So these are first, independent clause, and the second one is the dependent clause. Independent clause is also known as main clause. Independent clause can stand alone in the sense that it doesn't need anyone to make sense because the sentence itself or the clause itself conveys a complete thought or a complete meaning. To understand more about independent clause, let's take these examples. The first one is he runs fast. The sentence he runs fast has a complete sense. Why? Because it has a subject and it has a predicate or the verb phrase. He is the subject and runs fast is the verb phrase. So it has a complete sense. That is why it is an example of an independent clause. So the second example is he loves running and he runs fast. So what did you observe in this example? Yes, there are two main clauses in this example. First is he loves running, and the second one is he runs fast. In the first main clause, he loves running, he is the subject and loves running is the verb phrase, and it has a complete sense. And the second one is he runs fast. He is the subject and runs fast is the verb phrase. These two main clauses are connected with the word and. So and is the conjunction that connects the two main clauses. The word and is a conjunction that connects the two main clauses. The third example is he is not an athlete but he runs fast. In this sentence, there are two main clauses. The first one is he is not an athlete and the second one, he runs fast. He is the subject and is not an athlete is the verb phrase. And the but is a conjunction that connects these two main clauses. Now, it is important to take note that the subject or the predicate of the main clause could be simple or compound. At this point of time, let us now move on to the next classification of clause, which is dependent clause. So what do you think is dependent clause? From the word itself, dependent, meaning this clause cannot stand alone by itself. It needs an independent clause to make sense or to complete its meaning. So this dependent clause is also known as subordinate clause. To understand more about dependent clause, let us take these examples. The first example is he runs fast because he didn't want to be caught. So in this example, you can see that there is main clause there and there is subordinate clause. Why? Because he runs fast is a main clause and because he didn't want to be caught is a dependent clause that needs the main clause to be complete. Why? Because he didn't want to be caught doesn't make sense. It does not have a complete sense or it doesn't convey a complete meaning. without the main clause, which is the he runs fast. The dependent clause is always like this. Subordinating conjunction, the subject, and the verb phrase. Cause is the subordinating conjunction, and he is the subject, and didn't want to be caught is the verb phrase. And so with these examples, she was the woman whom he made a promise to, whom is a subordinating conjunction that introduces the subordinate clause. So, and the third example is, I was finishing my work when you arrived. I was finishing my work is the main clause or the independent clause, and when you arrive is the subordinate clause or the dependent clause, because when is a subordinating conjunction that introduces the subordinate clause, and in this case when you arrive doesn't make sense without the prior clause, which is I was finishing my work. This is important to note that subordination makes one clause a subordinate element. The meaning of the subordinate clause is always dependent on the main clause of the sentence. Subordinating conjunction usually introduces the subordinate clause. Now, since we are done tackling about the two classification of clause, now what are those two clauses that are discussed today? Clause has two classifications. These are dependent and independent. So dependent cannot stand alone as a sentence, and independent clause can stand alone as a sentence. Dependent clause always needs this main clause to be complete. I hope you learned something today. Thank you and God bless. Bye-bye.